Meeting's called to order at 6:48 p.m. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Town of Cedar Lake Utility Board Public Meeting for November 2023. Would you all please rise for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan is absent. Julie Rivera. Here. Ralph Miller.
Present.
Colleen Sheben is absent. John Foreman.
Present.
Richard Sharp is absent. Nick Recupito.
Here.
I am present. Chris Talatis.
Present.
David Austin.
Present. All right, thank you. Item number 1, new business, approval of minutes from October 17th, 2023. Do we have any additions or corrections? If not, do we have a motion to accept and waive the reading of the minutes?
So moved. I'll second.
A motion made by John, seconded by Ralph. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera. Yes. Ralph Miller.
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes.
Nick Recupito.
Yes. Motion carries 4-0. Item number 2, consider Peerless Midwest well test drilling geolocation services proposal, former Hawkinson Farm. And item number 3, consider Sheehy Well and Pump Company's well test drilling proposal, former Hawkinson Farm. We're actually looking to defer this item until the January meeting due to some negotiations with the developer on this. So,
I'll make a motion to defer both items 2 and 3.
I'll second.
okay. Any questions on the motion to defer until January 2024? Then roll call, please.
Julie Rivera.
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes.
Nick Recupito.
Yes. Motion carries 4-0. Item number 4, 2024 utility budget. Chris, you introduce Sue, or Sue's going to take it from here?
Sue Hayes, our utility accounts specialist, has prepared the budget for us, and I will give it to her.
Okay, you had, basically, what I have included is water, sewers, and stormwater. I tried to give you comparable information from what we had for our 23 budget and adjustments to our 23 budget to our 24 budget. There is high altitude that shows historical and proposed, which, like salaries and wages, are not expense line items. It's just a group salaries and wages. I also gave you the backup detail by expense number, so that you could see what expense line show. So like if we go water first, our proposed budget this year is less in operating than it was in 2023 by roughly less than $8,000. I've talked with Mr. Recupito about possibly having to adjust the purchase power. In talking with engineer from Nice.
Say your name, Neil.
Oh, he needs a name tag. Yes. In talking with Neil, he said it's minimal. So therefore, I'm not sure that the $100,000 that I have for purchase power is going to need to be adjusted. And not greatly, if any. I will check with the parish tank to see what those costs are and just see what we've got built in. But I don't believe it will be that much after talking with the engineer. I've shown you roughly what our proposed revenues are. I've been very conservative in normalizing the 2023. And then, of course, we only calculated in, for each of the utilities, we only calculated in 75 new customers or new charges. They're all based on a 4,000-gallon residential. So for water, it would be, 1022, so it'd be 4088 times 75 times 12. So that's why, we've made some adjustments there on the growth, but we have normalized for the growth that we received in 2023. So when you look, you can also look at your tap fees. Tap fees go down. That's the one that goes down the most, but that is because we've only assumed 75 new customers. So revenues, total operating revenues will be $2 million. Expenses are 1.332 million. And so your net operating income is 672. The actual debt payments I've got below there for you. It shows for 2024 it'll be $416,923. A very important item for the council, for the board to be aware of, is the debt service coverage. We exceed our required coverage on our maximum annual debt service. We have a 1.61 times, and we only are required to have a 1.25 times. And then what I did is I said, okay, take your net operating income, and that's only your income that we're projecting for 2024, subtract out your debt. We have a net cash flow of $238,911 that we have available. We have the additional that is not covered by the tap fees on the meters and yokes, that is the $25,000. We have a payment in lieu of property taxes. Because of our debt is with the state revolving fund, we cannot show that in operating. It has to be coming out of other income. That is, if we were a for-profit utility, the town, the general fund, would be getting revenues from property taxes. This is to make the town whole because they own their own utilities. So, and then there's other capital outlays. Now understand, this is only a snapshot of projected 2024. I will tell you that we have made transfers this year from our water utility to our capital improvement fund, which shows that we've made savings in our actual budget. And we have. I think I talked to you, Nick, and said that at the end of October, we had only used 70% of what we had budgeted for 2023.
Okay, that's great. And we have a use for that money in capital?
Absolutely we do. Absolutely we do.
Okay.
But keep in mind, this does not take into any consideration what your current balances are in any of your funds. It only looks at your snapshot of this 12-month period and what you're going to do. So it's a positive that you we're projecting that you end it with funds available that we haven't said for specific capital items. And I will tell you that we're seeing that it tends to be a little bit higher because of savings that we make.
Yeah.
And that's water. And that's the budget. We have it more detailed on the following pages for you so that you can see it by expense account number. If you go on to the municipal sewage works, we're projecting $4.654 million worth of revenues, operating revenues. And this is your detailed one. And we are projecting operating expenses of $3.45 million. Now understand, when you get your disbursement information from Jen, your expenditures, a line item in that is your debt transfers. That is not an operating expense, but that comes from our operating because we are required by our debt to fund it on a monthly basis. So we make those transfers, but when you're actually looking at what your operating expenses are, you don't include your debt transfers.
Okay.
So we're looking at operating expenditures of $3.45 million, which says our net operating income is $1.203. We have our maximum annual debt service, and we have 2 years left on our sewer debt, and then we have no additional debt in sewer. Next year's is $463,500. We have a coverage of 2.6 times on that, which is our debt covenants say 1.25 times, so we're very well covered. And then I also showed you here, and I apologize, I didn't show it in water, but I show you how we determine what our minimum operating balance has to remain in our operating fund. Because our financial requirement in-house is 3 months of average O&M expenditures. So we have to carry a balance of $862,550.57 in sewer that's what we don't want to fall below, because it gives us the cash flow in case something happens, we don't get enough revenues in, we can make our expenditures. And basically what I did is I said, we're showing that we will have, we have a cash balance right now of $1.3 million, but understand that's before the payments that you approved today, that get approved today.
Okay.
And if you subtract out the minimum, then we're looking at roughly $442,000 that we can transfer at year end. But we won't do that calculation until we have the December books. But that will go to wastewater treatment improvement.
Okay, okay, that's what the WWTP special 633 fund
Your
is?
fund
Okay.
633.
Yeah,
So for wastewater treatment plant, for wastewater treatment improvements, capital fund?
yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's your capital.
okay.
That will be your capital fund, yeah.
Okay.
And so, but understand that we'll have that transfer technically that can go in, which will increase our balance. Understand that when we're looking, I only want to look at current year and see, we will do the recalculation of, well, I did the recalculation because our minimum based on what our budget is going to be is the $862,550.
Okay.
And we only do that once a year on that calculation because it's impossible to do it every month and update and try and normalize it for a whole year. But that's what you do, and that's what we want to try and keep. We don't make the transfers every month because, as I've said before, you find yourself, when we have 1 month, like when we make a huge payment, we get a payment that has to go to Lowell, or we get our liability insurance or something, that all occurs in 1 month. If that is the month, obviously we won't have the cash balance to make a transfer then, so we like to do it every 6 months, basically, is to make those transfers so that we don't have to take back from improvement to put into operating to maintain our balance. You're in technical default if you don't have your minimum balance with your bond covenants.
Okay.
And that's why that minimum balance comes into play.
Okay. That
But
makes
you
sense.
do, just like we as our own budgets, we want to keep a little bit of a cushion so that if something goes wrong, we can make our payments.
Yeah, makes sense.
But ours is a little added, we have outstanding debt, so we have certain requirements that we have to meet.
Okay, I'm gonna have a couple of questions for you, Sue, so I don't know if you wanna go through your whole presentation and then ask for questions, or if you want me to hit you with them as we go. It's up to you. You were the one that had to drive up here and deal with them.
That's okay. I was just going to say, because it's the same process that I used for your stormwater.
Okay.
And Jen and I are extremely happy with the results of this first year of budget because of the fact that we knew we'd have some glitches, but overall, it seems to be that we hit pretty good overall. Some of our line items are a little bit out of whack, but I have tried to take care of some of that in the current budget. The current budget we're putting forth based on what we learned from 2020, what we've been learning from 2023. We are expecting in your, let me go ahead and do your stormwater, and then, because everything is calculated the same process that we did. We're expecting in stormwater $1.328 million worth of revenues in 2024. I wanted to bring your attention, and I had talked with Mr. Kubiak about it too. I have separated out, we want to make sure that everybody knows, we are budgeting $40,000 annual right now for annual ditch maintenance. If you look at your stormwater page 12 budget, it was line number 21.
Yep.
Because we want to make sure that the maintenance keeps up. We're doing all this work and replacements through some of our roadway projects and other, even internally we're doing projects, but we want to make sure that it gets maintained. So there is a line item now. Given this year, we're going to track and see, 2024, we're going to track and see, we want to make sure that that's a usable number. If it needs to be more, okay. If it needs to be less, okay. Same process there. You end up calculating what our estimated operating income would be, which is about $704,000. We have the two actual cash funding of our 2017 refunded revenue bonds and our 2017 revenue bonds. And we have a coverage of 2.22 on the maximum annual debt service payment of $317,600, but on the actual payment for 2024, it is $246. So we've got a good coverage.
And we're shooting for 1.25 on that one
Well,
as well.
1.25 is the minimum.
Okay, gotcha.
And as you go, what it does is the better that your coverage is, if you find that you need to issue additional debt, you have capacity to do so, and you should get a better interest rate. Am I wrong, right, Corby? Yeah. We like the coverage to be higher, don't we? Okay.
Yeah.
And then I give you the estimated cash flow after our estimates PILT transfer to general fund, and that it's right at just a little under $400,000 then. So we will make some strides. Keep in mind that comes over the year. We will make some strides in the cash balances we have in the improvement fund that we can make some more improvements.
And that would have to be transferred out into
That would
the
be transferred
capital?
to the capital.
Okay.
But like I said, we only do that roughly about twice a year because we don't want to have to find ourselves not with a minimum. Hang on a minute, let me look here on the detailed page. On the detailed page on 14, the required minimum balance that we have is $161,513 for working capital. So, and then if you looked at what our fund balance was at 11/16, maybe at the end of this year we can transfer possibly 182, but keep in mind I don't have this month's.
Right.
The cash balance is prior to this month's expenditures.
Okay.
So I think we're making strides on the budget process with this. We're tweaking it every year, and this year, in 2024, we're hoping that what we see is if we've got excess in one area, that we will take it to an area that is needing of it.
And then we have, in order to transfer those monies, there has to be an action at a utility board meeting or a council meeting? Okay. Public meeting. Okay.
Yeah, and I do the calculation because it's based on a balance at the time. And what we'll do is, like we say, June 30th, what is your cash balance in your net operating, cash balance? We subtract off what our minimum required is, what our working capital requirement is, and then we say that is money that does not put you in violation of your bond covenants to make the transfer to your tax. But understand, all caveats in every debt ordinance that I've read state that if we have to, you have to transfer money out of your capital account either to pay debt or to meet your O&M requirements. So that's why we tend to only want to do it every 6 months, because then that way we don't fall into that 1 month where an annual payment comes due, and we put ourselves below it.
Yeah, I like that practice.
Yeah, I think the way you're approaching the water, storm, wastewater, and, you know, being conservative is very, very, intelligent and, much appreciative, so we don't get strapped, so.
Well, keep in mind, at the end of the year, the excess will go
Back into.
into the capital
Yep.
fund.
Yep.
I have a question for you, Sue or Jen. Actually, two of them, excuse me. One of them is under the sewage works, wastewater user fees, showing 2024 new customer estimate of 75, but it shows our revenue actually drops from the 2023 to 2024.
If you look at your tap fees, your tap
Okay.
fees drop. So that is why it dropped, because we had the customers. We had the growth from the,
Well, that's a separate line item, though. Like wastewater user fees.
Oh.
Water
yeah,
user.
you're right.
It shows, I don't know,
No, you're right, you're right.
$67,000 less for 2024, but we're figuring 75 new customers.
That's subject to check, because that should be an add, and it looks like it was a subtract.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
no,
all right.
because it wouldn't have been a decrease. The 43.2 is the 48 times 75, if my math is correct.
You're in sewage?
Yeah, because see, it goes from 4.654 normalized for year ending 2023 to, we added 43.2, and it goes down to 4.59. It looks like I subtracted out instead of added.
Okay. Is that gonna affect anything, or is?
All it does is affect the
I know it's
net
gonna affect
operating
the
income.
number. Okay. The other question I have, Sue, is this projection of 75 new customers, and I guess historically, and anyone can answer this here that's been here longer than I have, where do we get that number from, and what kind of analysis do we do on what's out there left to be developed to determine that's a safe number? Because I think the number that was used last year looks like it's not gonna be very conservative. So where are we getting these figures from? And I understand there's building that goes on in previously planted older subdivisions too, or meets and bounds parcels and that, but some of these new developments, I would imagine that's where most of those numbers are coming from.
It was through work that Corby and Jen and Chris, the group did, as far as what do we think? Because we've seen a downturn. Do we want to just use what we experienced in 2023, or do we want to be conservative and state it to be less than that?
Correct. The number that we used in last year's budget for this year was 200 building permits,
Yes.
which at the time was very conservative compared to historic numbers. Obviously, the real world happens, and that's why we have budgets. They're just expectations of what potentially could happen. The 75 number is essentially a significantly lower amount. We're at, right now, 134 new building permits for this year, which is 66 building permits off of the 200 that we expected, and so there may still be some yet that trickle in throughout this month and next month, doubtful in December.
Is that commercial and residential then, your 75 number?
in there right now.
I've only
We
used
just
it as
do based on
residential because it's
residential.
lower.
Okay, thank you.
The 75 is based off of the amount of platted subdivisions that are currently outside, not what we would expect to be newly approved.
Okay.
So there's a Lakeside Phase 2 with approximately 50 units, there's Oak Brook, there's plenty of Centennial/Beacon out there, there's a couple houses left in Birchwood and Rose Garden, and there's always a bunch of platted shades, the existing older areas of the town that potentially could fill that.
Okay, so you guys have obviously looked at all these developments and seen what was left to be built out.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you, guys. Did you have anything else to add, Sue or Jennifer, or does anybody have any other questions for both of these ladies?
I do not. I've asked my question.
Okay, what is our action on this? This is something new to me, this 2024 utility budget.
So if you're okay with what Sue has proposed to you all, then just, a motion to accept it, and then those are the numbers we will input to the system and we will use for '24.
Okay, and Jennifer, can you clarify with this, if this is something that this is not something we're required to do, right?
You are not required to budget your utilities. There is absolutely no requirement whatsoever, but we chose to start doing it. That way, we keep better tabs on exactly what we're doing with everything that's coming through.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah, I like it too.
I would just, if you're going to approve it as amended with the clarification, and we will upload onto the website, as we did last year, the corrected budgets, so that way it's available to the public.
Okay.
Again, on our website with our regular budget and such.
The other thing to be aware of is that if we find that a specific line item, just like you do with your general fund, if we find one that is sorely understated, you know, that for some reason this year, 2023, and everything that I looked at is wrong, we will come to you and we will say we need to increase that budget.
Okay.
That it still will be, once this is in place, it's up to the board, the council, everybody to change it,
Okay.
to agree to change it.
Well, you'll be constantly monitoring this, and
Yes.
any recommendations needed will come down.
Yes, and it's, we were pleasantly surprised, not surprised, but we were pleasantly satisfied that, we did hit pretty well with the budget this year. The other thing is, and we're still working on, I want to be able to track our revenues. Water is going to be problematic because we get more revenue when we have sprinkling. So that's not how the system tracks it, you know, it just does it on an average when it tells you you're 50% complete and this is what you have left. So we're working on that, but I wanted you to see what the projection revenues were, and that we're not overspending and not allowing for some type of capital transfer.
Okay. I guess we'll have to tweak it in years to follow, if we have to, and this is a really, really, really good start. Okay. If there's no more discussion or no more questions, then I'm looking for a motion for this 2024 utility budget.
I'd like to make a motion to pass the 2024 utility budget and include the corrections that Nick pointed out and that Sue had offered to correct.
I'll second Julie's motion.
Okay, motion made by Julie, seconded by John to approve the 2024 utility budget with the clarifications that were talked about in discussion. Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay, roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Nick Recupido.
Yes, motion carries 4-0. All right. Jennifer, Sue, thank you both.
Thank you for your work on it.
Item number 5, ratification of funding sources for the Morse Street Water Main Project. Who's taking this one?
I guess me and Sue can kind of take this
Yeah.
one again.
Okay.
Through a lot of internal discussion and then with discussion coming out of our most recent state board examination, and in order to better document as we move forward with much larger projects, I asked Sue to help me look at projected costs related to these projects and to help really narrow down what we anticipate our total for each fund that we'll be utilizing for these projects. So we already did the bid for the Moore Street Water Main Extension, so I wanted to come back and have it on the record with you all of our plan for funding the project.
Okay.
So Fund 644 is our water development fund from the 2022 costs. So we anticipate $686,690, and then the remainder we anticipate utilizing the TIP funds. That's Fund 804, $276,057.75.
Okay. Thank you for the explanation, Jen. Any questions?
No, thank you.
So we're considering approving this ratification then? Is that
Yep,
what
as the
we're
funding sources.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the ratification of the funding sources for Morris Street Water Main Project.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by John, seconded by Julie to approve the ratification of the funding sources for the Morse Street Water Main Project. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Nick Recupido?
Yes. Motion carries 4-0. Item number 6 is NEAS pay request number 3 for the east side transmission payable to H&G Plumbing in the amount of $118,439.77. Thanks for waiting, Neil.
My
Welcome.
pleasure. Tough act to follow.
Yeah, it is. I'm telling you.
This is a routine pay request for the east side transmission main for H&G. They are substantially complete, and within the next month, hopefully 90 days or 60 days at the outset, we will have the final pay request, release of retainage. We've submitted to them already the punch list that they've accepted, and they'll be processing that. We expect the entirety of this project for construction to be around $50,000 below the contract budget, and we'll work with Sue and Jen and Dave and Chris on the reappropriation of that, should you so determine that to be an option.
Okay, good deal.
So good.
Any questions for Neil? No? If not, then do we have a motion to accept this pay request?
I'll make the motion. All right, second Ralph's motion.
Motion made by Ralph, seconded by John to,
You read the amount, $118,439.77, Nick?
Yep, yeah,
Okay,
to
thank you.
accept and approve this pay request number 3 for the east side transmission payable to H&G Plumbing in the amount of $118,439.77. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Nick Recupido?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Item number 7, future water capacity needs planning discussion. Mr. Salatas, do you have anything?
Nothing at this time.
Nothing? Okay. Thank you. Item 8, written report, fund report, clerk treasurer, Ms. Sandberg.
Cash and expenditure reports were sent out to you all. Nothing further at this time.
All right, thank you. We're going back to you, Neil, number 9, sanitary and water update, please.
The West Side Sanitary Interceptor Project 1, the piping is finally substantially complete. CSX was able to get their inspectors out there over the past month.
Wow.
And, yeah.
Good thing we started 2 years ago.
Not quite, but it was
Feels like it.
probably about 3 months of delays
Yeah.
getting railroad inspectors, and that's because they're doing a lot of projects nationally with ARPA funds and state and local projects that came from the COVID funds. So we had a big challenge getting those inspectors out there, but LGS did a fine job coordinating with them, and right now we're working on final testing, punch list, and those items will be coming before you for the next pay request that they submit. Project 2, we're coordinating with town staff and Dave's office on the easements. We're almost there. Project 3, we're proceeding with design, working with town staff on the West Side Interceptor, looking at opportunities to do some value engineering and connect to intercepting additional areas in the Lensway area to take load off lift station 11, which would provide additional capacity by doing that for other developments should you so choose. On the water side, Utopia, we're proceeding with closeout with the contractor. We expect that to be about $200,000 plus under construction budget. And additionally, the engineering will be under as well. The tower at Crystal Oaks, that's been filled, and the site work's being completed. We expect that to be completed yet this year with a punch list to remain, and then we can close that out with the SRF. once that's completed.
Okay. You said the tower is filled?
The tower's filled.
Yeah, okay. Okay, and then we're still near substantial completion in Utopia it's December, right? Sometime in December?
I would love to have that be the case. They're working with the paperwork right now, completing all the punch list, closeout items, so that we can prepare that for you with the pay request, release of retainage, and then punch list items and the guarantee period of 1 year to be also included in that closeout.
Did they get the yards then properly taken care of and grass to start growing prior to
Generally, yes,
End of the
we had,
season.
one resident that we're working very closely with, that we've acknowledged all their issues, that, Gatlin was not necessarily, able to complete, because it was more a delicate matter than the general civil construction that we all deal with on the road and sewer and water projects, but, they've come to an agreement to take care of that with the residents so that they're made whole.
Okay, good deal.
Okay.
Lots of good news, Neil. Thank you. Anything else to add?
No, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Excuse me, Director of Operations, Superintendent, Mr. Kubiak, do you have anything for us?
I do not.
Okay. Sounds good. Item C, Town Attorney, Mr. Oshman.
No reports.
All right, thank you, sir. Number 10, J-Mob report.
Lowell had canceled the meeting due to some scheduling conflicts with their representatives. They've mentioned that they'll look to reschedule the first quarter of next year.
Okay. We have any movement on that Westler Task Order 15?
They've stated that they'll provide a written report from Westler as soon as they get it,
Okay.
and then it'll be forwarded on to the utility board.
That's for future design or expansion?
I believe that's an evaluation of the plant.
Okay.
Now, looking forward, I know there was a 16 that's in the pipeline. In your opinion, when would Task Order 16 be considered? Once 15's vetted? or
I
once-
would imagine that it would at least be minimally discussed at the next JMOP meeting,
Okay.
especially given that there'll be increased time for them to get their proposal together. I would assume then, but I do not have the timeline from Lowell yet on that.
Okay. All right, thank you, Chris. Anything else from J-Mod?
That's it.
Okay. We're gonna move on to public comment for the utility board. Public comment for the utility board. Last call for the crowd for public comment. Do you have anything submitted or anybody online,
No
Jen?
one's on mine.
Okay. Public comment is now closed. This meeting is adjourned at 7:25 PM. Next meeting is Tuesday, December 19th, 2023 at 6 PM here, which is a special time, by the way. And please stick around for the town council.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Town Council Public Meeting for November 21st, 2023. We'd like to start the Pledge of Allegiance and then a moment of silence. And during that moment of silence, please keep Tammy Bilgries from our building department's family in your prayers. She just recently lost her mother, so we would appreciate that. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which will stand one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan is absent. Julie Rivera. Here. Nick Recupido.
Here.
Ralph Miller.
Present.
Colleen Sheehan is absent. John Foreman.
Present.
Richard Sharp is absent. I am present. Chris Gladys.
Present.
David Austin.
Present. Okay, to start tonight's meeting, we have a presentation by Mr. Mike Aylesworth, House Representative for District 11. Hello, Mike. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Been a busy day. Today was organization day for the legislature, so we started out about 8 o'clock this morning and finished up with a pleasurable presentation tonight.
Nice seeing you.
The reason I'm here, and I'll stand so that everyone can hear, is when you become a public official, and there are 4 members of this board that are leaving at the end of the year, you take on a lot of work and responsibility, many, many hours of responsibility. I've been in their shoes. I know exactly what goes on in the time involved, and I thought I would just take a moment tonight, and I had some certificates prepared so that I wanted to thank them for their public service. They have different terms of public service, different lengths of public service, but nonetheless, it's public service. So without further ado, this is for Rick Sharp, John Foreman, Ralph Miller, and Colleen Scheiber. And I've got 4 certificates here, and I'm not going to read each certificate. I'm going to try to combine them as best I can in the interest of brevity, because I know you've all got a long meeting. This is from the state of Indiana, Indiana General Assembly. It is hereby known and proclaimed that those individuals named be recognized for the years of service to Cedar Lake. They have been instrumental in advancing the quality of life in Cedar Lake during their tenure in office. During this time in office, they were responsible for increasing the staffing in the police and fire departments, modernizing the public water utilities through investments in new infrastructure, and investing heavily into improving road infrastructure by repaving roads and incorporating stormwater infrastructure to prevent flooding all over the community. They have worked diligently to improve Cedar Lake's park system. Through this hard work, numerous new playgrounds, dog parks, and town beautification projects have been completed. I want to congratulate all of you on this exceptional honor and wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mike.
Mr. Morado.
You can hand all 4 to me. I'll be sure that everybody gets them.
All right, and there's a sleeve in there for you to give to them.
Okay.
All right.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Do you have a self-driving car, or is that being recorded?
Okay, I'll let you get on. I know you got a busy night. but
Okay.
Anyway, I'm gonna stop by and do this for all of you, so.
Thank you very much.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, let's get a picture.
Oh, okay. You can do it.
Yeah, hold one of those up.
I will. We'll walk down. Ralph and I'll walk down.
All right, yeah, come on down, I'll bring them down, you can hold them in front of you.
There,
That'd be great.
I was gonna jump over the table, but I don't think Ralph can. So I'll walk down.
Be right back. There's mine too.
Okay, we'll get over here so we're symmetrical.
Yeah, okay, very good, so we're getting, look, there we go, guys.
Okay, tell us when, Chris. 3, 2, 1?
3, 2, 1.
Oh, it's still close.
Gotcha, my wife.
Okay, thank you again, sir. Thank you, nice to see you.
Yep, it's good, of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Just here. Thank you. Thank you all for your patience and thank you them.
And good luck this year in the short session.
Okay, yep, thank you.
Moving on, we'd like to do an oath of office for Zachary Bailey, full-time paramedic firefighter, by Chief Todd Wilkenny, please.
I feel like I'm on the wrong side.
Kind of.
Stand over here.
She's always up to things like that. We're good at this.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Zachary Bailey,
I, Zachary Bailey,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully support
that I will faithfully support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Indiana,
the ordinances of the Town of Cedar Lake,
the ordinances of the Town of Cedar Lake,
and the rules and regulations of the Cedar Lake Fire Department,
and rules and regulations of the Cedar Lake Fire Department,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and honestly discharge
and honestly discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as a firefighter/paramedic,
as a firefighter paramedic,
to which I have been appointed
to which I have been appointed
according to law
according to law,
and to the best of my skills and ability,
and to the best of my skill and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Give you this badge, and we hope you retire here in our community.
Thank you.
And I'm not gonna put it on you because if my house burns and I stab you with it, you'll probably let it burn, so Chief, you can put it on.
I'll let his wife love
There you go.
it. Badge.
Congrats.
She's good at that. Zach joined us here recently. He's number 32 badge number for our department. I wish we had 32 people, but he's number 32. Hopefully we'll get there sometime. He's been a really good asset so far. Comes with some experience from Pennsylvania and Michigan. Relocated here recently with his wife, and she works in the city of Chicago. So she's also in law enforcement, so I'm going to go ahead and let her put the badge on him, if I can figure out how to.
Chief, I couldn't open it, so that's another reason I asked down.
That's why you can't be a fireman, John.
That's
You can't figure out a badge.
Actually, if you did, that would be awesome.
Go ahead.
Push really hard. Just like, there you go, keep moving, hit it. Aw.
All right, congratulations again.
Thank you.
All right, when can we get a picture? Come on up.
Get in front of the sign.
Bring your kids up here.
You go ahead. I'm just gonna send them to him anyway. We'll get a picture. Your dad. You put your dad.
Come on over here, buddy, come on, you little thing. This is gonna have to be fast.
Here we go, hey, 1, 2, 3, woo!
Let me get out, so one more. This family.
Hey, good job, yeah.
There you go, fire. Yeah. They're all lined up perfect. Hey, Zach, I'm gonna need you to sign this real quick.
We'll give everyone a minute here to sit down.
No, that's not. Just later on. This is your official swearing in. What do you say?
Left arm. I like it.
Oh, there she is.
You gotta sign this one too.
The agreement.
You and Chief.
A little tiny amount.
Like anywhere from 8 to 10 hours a day, right?
Or longer.
Time flies.
Thank you. Good. I'll make copies and leave them in the mailbox for you.
Thank you.
All
All
right.
right, awesome. Thanks, Jim. Okay, you guys have this. All right, thank you.
I missed so many good basketball games. Okay, everybody, we're gonna resume. The next item up is Mr. Corby Thompson, CPA from O.W. Cronin Associates. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Council. So hopefully all of you guys have in front of you a copy of the 2023 Sustainability Plan. And again, just as a reminder what this is essentially a 5-year projection of your financials, including all of the major and significant funds of the town. And it's just meant to be kind of a guide and a map and a tool for various different reasons for management, incoming council members, clerk treasurer, anybody who really is interested in the overall financial, picture of the town. So just want to mention that before we get started here. There's a lot in here, as I mentioned. 60-some pages. I'm not going to go through every schedule here. I'm going to hit some of the main key points, significant updates in comparison to the last sustainability plan we had, and then as well as just talk about major changes that might occur in the future.
Corby, excuse me, Corby. We don't have anything for the screen.
No, because Corby's going to present this evening, and since it is just the 4 of you, that way we have some time, everybody can go through it. That way if there are more questions, because like Corby just said, we don't have time to go through all 60 pages this evening. He'll hit the highlights for you and summarize for you, but if you have further questions, you can come back. That's why it's shown as just a presentation item. On a later agenda, it'll be back up for you for acceptance, because that's what we did 2 years ago when we first did the sustainability plan. We had council accept the sustainability plan. So
You can't throw it up there, just even though we don't have the handouts?
I don't have the
Okay.
electronic copy on this computer.
Okay, fair enough.
But once it is accepted, then it'll be made public, like we did the last time.
Sure, yeah, I didn't prepare a presentation this time. I think I did last time, but it's one of those things where I was just going to end up copy and pasting a lot of the stuff out of this report. So I figured let's just go through the schedules. That way you guys have a better idea of what exactly is all in here and
Fair enough.
how it works,
Okay.
essentially. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to page 2 here. This is kind of the start of the general comments and notes. I would encourage all of you guys to read through that in its entirety. There's some really good information, just talking about, again, general picture of the town. But I will just point out a few things that are on the schedule that kind of are again, major points that should be taken with this report. The town has grown a lot, including the assessed value of the town. And it's 94% increase in the town's assessed value since 2017. Consequently, you've also seen a levy increase of about the same. The other thing I want to mention is you've also had a population increase of 35%. So really what I want to mention here is that the town, at least in the past several years, has been growing, and there are things that need to be addressed along with that growth. New services that need to be provided, those kinds of things. So the goal of this plan is to make sure that the town can sustain its operations while also meeting all of the capital needs the town has. So again, that is the primary goal of this report. So I'm just going to start talking about some major assumptions and things like that in here. So we essentially start with the 24 budget that's been approved by you guys. And essentially what we do is we progress that forward with known operational adjustments. We allocate the various capital needs to the funds when money is available for those projects, those kinds of things. Major updates in comparison to prior years in the 23 budget would be 2 new firefighters for 2024. We've also have in the projections an additional police officer in 2025. And I do want to mention that this is outpacing the previous sustainability plan and what we had in there, but the town's overall growth has exceeded that as well. And so one thing I do want to mention is that in the last report, we had, approximately 1 firefighter for every 1,000 residents, and we had about 1 police officer for 650 residents. Those numbers are essentially the same. They're carried forward. We project that forward the best we can, based on the resources the town has. Another key update would be the inclusion of the Parks Department. That was established last year, getting that up and running this year. And so, again, that's just an entirely new department that was not included in the previous plan. And the growth of the town has basically allowed the town to take on, additional department without really increasing the overall tax rate at a historical level. That's all I'm really going to talk about on the comments and notes here. Moving on to page 4, this is kind of, these next several schedules are really what brings the entire report together. So page 4, you've got some just notes to these schedules, and then starting on page 5 and 6, if you're more of a visual person, you can kind of see the results of this plan. Overall, what you kind of see, or what we'd be hoping to see, would be cash balances steadily increasing. In an ideal way. However, we do know the town has experienced significant growth, and with that growth, there were some revenues that occurred that are one-time, non-recurring charges that ultimately increased the town's cash balances pretty significantly. However, ultimately down the line, there was additional services that are required to be provided. And so, again, the whole goal of this is to make sure we can sustain those required operational increases, as well as make sure we can fund all those capital improvements. One thing I do want to point out on this cash balance schedule is the general fund. All of the other funds have appropriate operating balances. So does the general fund. But I do want to mention that the general fund in particular is projected to cash outflow through 2027. And again, it's able to do that with the cash that currently exists because of those building and permitting fees that were ultimately received in the past several years. I'd like to see that balance remain, and I always recommend that the operating balance of especially the general fund is at least 1 property tax distribution. So for 2027, that would be about $2.6 million. So we still have an operating balance of, $400,000 over that.
Yep.
So again, that's not a lot of wiggle room, but yet, I want to mention we did look at that, and we want to make sure that we really don't drop below that $3 million mark.
And 4 years out is typical? Or are you just stopping at 27?
I just stopped at 27 so that we had 5 years of projections. Now I'm including 23 as a projection, which is nearly finished at this point. But yeah, once we get to 2028, so if you want to look at the graph, one thing that we kind of did talk about last time this was presented is that we did know the cash was going to potentially drop. And there was a plan to make sure that ultimately in the long run that the revenues become sufficient in order to cover all of the required appropriations and disbursements that the town has. So if we did have a projected year 2028, I think you would start to see, you would see the general fund balance increase. So that's the ultimate goal here, is making sure that fund in particular, we don't drop below that required operating balance. The cash balances are broken into several different categories. So just mentioned, you got the general fund, then you've got some public works funds, being MVH restricted, and your LRS fund. Below that, you've got what I call your capital and cumulative funds. And so essentially those funds are just receiving revenues annually for a periodic capital outlay, cash outflow to fund some project the town has. So as I mentioned that, we'd like to see the public works and the general funds remain relatively steady, but we might see some bigger swings in those cumulative capital funds. just based on when projects may occur. We've also got your TIF funds down there as well. And you can see that cash balance is projected to rise to about $2.1 million based on the projections that we have in here. So I do want to mention that, as that could be a place where certain capital needs of the town, or if there's a need for additional public safety employees, that's a place where there might be some potential funding. I would recommend we do more analysis if we entertain that. But again, this is the whole reason we have this, is so that if you guys want to ask that question, hey, what happens if we want to, fund another police officer for next year? How might that look? We can go to this report, know how that's going to look.
Very good. And is this just taking into account the current TIF districts, nothing proposed?
That's right. I don't include any US 41 TIF revenue in here. It's just the consolidated TIF area that we have, and we know the revenues for, essentially, somewhat. But yeah, there's no residential TIF or anything included in these projections. But again, if that's something the town would explore or want to explore, there's potential funding for all kinds of things there. But yes, I do not have anything like that.
Okay, thanks.
I also provide some utility fund balance information. Again, Sue just went through kind of your 2024 budgets, and which I applaud you guys for doing that as well, because most communities don't do that. And I applaud you for doing this as well, because most communities are only working in that 18-month rolling budget of the DLGF review. So it's very good to see you guys being proactive as opposed to reactive, as I very often see. But I just want to mention...
Sustainability is important with the economy not really knowing what could possibly happen, right? So
that's exactly right.
It's intelligent to do for our residents.
That's right, exactly. It's a really good tool for them, everybody, other professionals, so yes. But I did want to mention that there is utility information in here. Sue's going to have a better handle on it than I will, okay? But I do want to include it in here because there are overhead costs that are split between the civil funds and the utility funds and things like that. So I think it is important to look at that, but at the same time, if the utility funds are running out, they should be self-sufficient. The revenues for the utilities should cover the utility costs. Just want to mention that. Moving on to pages 7, 8, and 9, and 10. This is all information about historical tax rates, assessed values, and levies. So as I mentioned, the tax rates dropped from, it was about 81 cents back in 2017. Then through 2022, it had dropped down to about 56, 57 cents. And the reason for that is essentially that the operating levies had not been adjusted substantially enough in order to cover certain operational costs and capital costs of the town during those years. So you had huge increases in AV, and then you had basically your assessed value growth quotient adjustment only to your operating levies. One thing that we want to make sure going forward is that you guys approve your 3-year growth appeals. Because ultimately what that's going to do is keep that operating levy and tax rate hopefully level. Now there's always swings with changes in AV from year to year, but they should be minor. So when you're looking at projected tax rates, we're looking at a projected tax rate around 80 cents for the town. And we're hoping to keep that essentially level going forward. That's essentially just what it costs to run the town, and that's what we're targeting in this report.
Okay.
Page 10, I think, is pretty interesting because it kind of shows what happened with your levies there as well. So, as I mentioned, you have the tax rate drop down to 57 cents in 2022, and then we have it jump up to 81 cents for 2023. And the main reason for that, again, is the Parks Department, the extension of services appeal that was applied for. There was about a $1 million levy received for that Parks Department. And then there was also the issuance of the lease rental bonds for the public safety facilities. So that's kind of why we saw that jump from 22 to 23 in here. But again, it gets that tax rate back to where it needs to be in order to provide all of the service that everybody in the town's come to expect. We do assume assessed value growth in this report, about 6% annually. So I do just want to mention that. Even with that assessed value growth, we're aiming to keep that tax rate low.
Good.
So pages 11 through 16 are basically information on all of the capital projects that are to be funded in this report. There are some projects in here, and you'll see on the schedules, that are, quote, unfunded. Means, you know, we have not determined how that's ultimately going to be paid for, which means it's either going to have to be pushed down the line, or maybe some kind of bond issue. And I do have a couple things in here proposed, because I know there are some major capital equipment that's needed, as well as some other projects that could potentially be funded by an economic development income tax bond, as that bond rolls off in 2025. That wouldn't impact the tax rate at all. That would just be a new bond that could help potentially fund, you know, the purchase of the fire truck or whatever it may be. But again, there's just information on the funding of these various projects in here, on pages 11 and 12 and 13. Page 14 is essentially the capital improvement plan. So I sat down with Chris, Jen, department heads. I mean, we went through kind of everything that we knew was out there. So on page 14, you've got the plan with those major projects, including all your public works projects. There's also some special projects, which includes the final amounts for the Eco Lake Restoration Project. And then there's also a band shell amphitheater that's potentially to be funded in here by something like an economic development bond. There's also some water projects and wastewater projects in here. Again, a lot of that's kind of to be determined, or will be determined at the time when those projects are commencing, but really a lot of those should just be covered by the revenues of the utilities, the net revenues of those utilities. Page 16 is the capital equipment replacement plan. I do want to mention a couple things on here. So each year, you know, the town needs new vehicles for police, for fire, for public works, whatever it may be. This is essentially where we're planning that information out here. Now, I do want to mention one thing, is that everything on here is to be paid with CCD funds, except for the purchase of police vehicles in 2024 and 2025. Those are projected in here to be paid with TIF funds. And the reason is that there's the current outstanding leases, and what we really want to do is flip over to purchasing these vehicles. Because what will happen is, down the line, when you're purchasing 6, 7 vehicles a year, the interest on all of that, you could buy another car. And so we're basically just taking that next step, knowing that the town now will and does have the funds to do that. So that is kind of a key update here. But a lot of these numbers, again, are just allowances for the various department heads as well.
Okay.
Are there any questions on the capital?
Can you just clarify those, for those in attendance, what CCD funds are?
Yeah, Cumulative Capital Development Funds. It's essentially a separate tax rate up to 5 cents. I believe you guys are at the 5 cents. And so what that does specifically helps replace all of this equipment. Yep.
Thank you.
So the next pages, actually had the table of contents over there, but 17 through, 57, I believe, are the actual projected financials in here, beginning with the general fund. Now, there are some key assumptions that I do want to mention in this report that can really change if the assumptions are changed. But essentially, we're looking at, we project that the town spends 95% of its budgeted salaries and wages for 2023 and 2024, and then 90% is basically all of the other budgeted appropriations in those years. We then take those amounts, we project them forward with some periodic increases or with some kind of, certain line items. We have an annual 3% inflationary adjustment. So again, those are some of the key disbursement assumptions. But as far as revenues go, again, the key revenue assumption, again, would be we're increasing the levy so that we're keeping the tax rate level by making sure that those 3-year growth appeals are improved, are approved. So again, those are really the big key assumptions. Just like Sue did, though, I think we have maybe 75 new customers projected in here in some of those subsequent years. And again, that's just to be conservative and based on some of the things that you had discussed earlier at the utility board meeting. So again, just looking at the general fund, we do anticipate some cash outflows. And again, we are able to do that because there's cash reserves available for that because of those miscellaneous revenues, those one-time miscellaneous revenues received. We also the anticipation of this is conservative as well. So, in an ideal world, I think historically the town spent about 80 to 85% of its budget. We're assuming 90+% of the budget ultimately gets spent. I think you guys are probably getting closer to actually doing that, which is good. But at the same time, you don't want to be over that if that's what I'm projecting in this report. And yeah, by the time you get to 2027, you've got a nearly level cash position and your cash flow within that general fund.
Okay.
If we projected 2028 out, based on just the trends of the numbers I see here, I would say that it would be a projected cash inflow. I'm not going to go through the details of all of these projections. There are a couple funds I'm going to touch on, as I mentioned. The general fund, we kind of just touched on that. You've also got your public works funds, MVH. Those moving forward, again, are just projections based on estimates that we have at this time, adjusted for some growth that we anticipate within the town. 3, 4, 5% in most cases in the revenues, and then correspondingly we'll be increasing the disbursements. MVH fund also has an allocation of levy. We're going to try to keep that allocation of levy the same going forward. One fund I do want to talk about would be the Economic Development Income Tax Fund.
What page is that?
Are you interested?
36? No, too far.
Perfect. Yeah, so page 36. So as I mentioned, there is an economic development income tax bond outstanding right now. It matures in 2025, which essentially could potentially, on however you guys ultimately decide is what we'll do, but there is potential bonding capacity there. Assuming it's a $350,000 contribution of those income taxes to debt service, you get about $3.5 million in bonds over 10 years. I do want to mention that if there are things out there that we have unfunded, or there are other capital projects that were in the capital improvement plan of this report, that is a potential opportunity to fund those.
That was 2025?
Yeah, 25 is when
Expires.
Yep.
That's good to know.
Yes. And then the only other fund I really planned on discussing a little bit would have been the TIF fund. Because again, similarly to the Economic Development Fund, there's no bonds rolling off or anything, but that's another place where there is some potential cash flow to do some additional things that the town needs. So again, just wanted to mention that. As I said, there's all kinds of other information in this report. I think some other things that might be really helpful would be the last three pages in this report. They're just some exhibits to the report, and it just provides historical information as far as AVs, populations, local income taxes received, kind of historical trend changes that we see there. There's also a geo-debt capacity calculation in there, in case you guys are, or anybody's interested in seeing that. That's one of the exhibits, and then the last exhibit in here is just a summary of the town's debt. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen anything like that before, but that is scheduled in there, basically just has the outstanding principal as the date of this report, but it also provides the current amounts, meaning the amounts due in the next year. So, again,
Very good.
just a valuable resource there.
Yes, it is.
So, that was a lot of information, and I did that as quickly as I can. I'd be happy to do another meeting with more detail, less detail, whatever you guys would like. But this is the report as it sits now, and
Yeah. So Jen, when would we be able to take this PDF and post it publicly? Is it? Just in case folks want to review, look at, et cetera.
once you guys approve it, I'm fine if you guys
Yeah, okay.
want to post it. I didn't want to have it out there until it was final.
Of course.
So that's essentially why.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Mr. Chair, we have it slated for your December 5th agenda, so if
Okay.
it's approved at the December 5th agenda, we can put it on the website along with all the other budget information.
Very good, thank you, Chris.
Yeah, and sorry, feel free to, go through it. If you guys have questions between now and then, we can, or issues with it, we can update it, between now and December 5th. So,
You got it.
that was kind of the plan. Let's get this in front of you guys, give you a chance, because it's comprehensive to the point where I can't really give you all of the information in here at a public meeting.
Very good.
It's just that extensive.
Well, I appreciate you going through it as thoroughly as you did for all of us. Do any of you have any other questions on the council?
I just have a concern. I would like for something like this to be shared with the public before we approve it, so that way if somebody has anything that they want to bounce off us or input, I think it'd be a good thing to do. Is there any reason why we couldn't do that?
No, it was just more, I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to, like I said, look at it before we put it out there, and then, I don't have an issue with it if you want to.
It's based off the budget that we've already.
Right, there's no action that takes.
The future is a forecast.
Yeah, this is just a guide, there's no actionable material in here per se, but,
Absolutely.
okay.
But one thing we are gonna do, we're gonna ask Cliff to get rid of that ancient board and put a nice monitor where we can just drag down and share, our screens, so that'd be pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
Bluetooth, like we do at home,
Mm-hmm.
screen share, so. No, I don't have any other questions. Julie, anything?
Thank you.
Thank you for the thoroughness and, making the trek up here. Chief?
Chairman, could I ask one question?
Absolutely.
I see the PSAP contract's gonna go up to $425,000. Is there any other debt service or any other contract that's added to that?
No, so
That's the final dollar, $425,000?
Well, that's about what we estimate the total contract to be. Historically, the general funds paid a piece of that. And so what you'll see is in these projections, we take that away. We no longer have the general fund paying for that part of the PSAP contract.
Got it.
It's all just being paid with the public safety
So
money.
we will pay $425,000 next year.
I don't know what you will pay, but that's what we're estimating.
Projecting.
That's what we're projecting. Do you know what it is right now, Jen, what you're gonna pay this year?
So I don't know what 2024 numbers are going to look like because Cherville traditionally does a true-up at the end of the year that they share with us before they start billing us in the new year. Ours, when it came to the PSAP costs, ours were higher those first years because Cherville covered 100% of the costs when it began. So we had for 3 years, we were paying them back for those initial costs. That has now come off. But I honestly don't know what kind of raises Cherville is looking at for next year or what they anticipate their operations and maintenance costs being, so at this point, just don't have a good number for you.
So again, you're saying it's just an estimate that it could go to that number. It's not necessarily gonna be that number.
No,
Right,
that's what we've budgeted, but like Corby said, these last few years, it's been paid for out of both the general fund and those Lowett public safety monies. Now it's gonna move just that Lowett.
Do we know what that number was between those two numbers from last year?
I'd have to
I
pull an
believe that
expenditure report. and I can
226,
tell you.
190 was 22, and 275 was this year, I think, if
Yeah,
I'm
but
looking.
there was two funds that came from, is that the total balance between the two, or is that?
Chief, I can pull the
Okay.
reports next
Well,
week.
we sit on the board and Chief Fisher and I would like to know what the numbers are, so.
I can give
Makes
you the
sense.
historical reports next week when I'm back in the office.
I can tell you in 2022, 150,000 was paid out of the general fund for the PSAP contract,
Okay.
And so what that-
Just the general fund,
just the general fund.
and then,
The remainder was Lowett,
That's right.
most
okay,
likely.
which was how much?
75?
No,
Those 225?
it's definitely more than that.
No, it's way more than that.
226,190 last year.
So 226 plus 150.
Oh, okay.
375.
Okay.
Yes.
So you went from 226,190 to 275 out of that this year then? And then this next year, you kept it the same?
So 24's budget's already been approved, and we
Right.
still had the payment coming out, yeah.
Right, I see it,
Yeah.
I see it, thank you.
Corby, would this be appropriate to have near final draft stamped on it?
I mean, if I don't have any changes, the report, it's final.
Well, you might have changes if one of these council
That's right.
members or
Right.
a member of the citizenry.
That's right, yes.
So it wouldn't be final until it's voted.
It's pretty easy to,
However the council wants, if
Jen,
they
do
want
you
to
have it as a Word doc, or do you only have it as a
I
PDF?
do not, because it was prepared by Cronin Associates.
Maybe email her a copy, so
Yeah, I think,
draft across the front if you would, please, and then we
Sure.
can, get it posted.
we'll do that.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Bob, you good?
I'm gonna post it online so people can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just want
I
to
think
put
we
a
should.
draft on it
I
before
think
it
so,
ultimately
yeah.
gets approved,
I
then
think
or
so.
something, if that, yeah.
Very good. Well, I don't have any other questions, so thank you again for your time and thoroughness and detail that you've shown us, and we appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Corby.
Okay, that wraps up the presentation. Now moving on to public hearing, ordinance number 1456, public way vacation, continued public hearing. I believe there's a deferral in order, is that correct, Chris?
My understanding.
Mr. Austin? Okay, so, and I believe that the deferral is for the December, would be for the next, or?
19th, December 19th.
Okay, for December 19th. Do we have a motion to, well, do I have to go through the legals and opening remarks and all that, or
No,
not?
that's all been done. This is
Okay.
deferral of a continued public hearing.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to defer this item to December 19th, Mr. President.
motion by Nick.
I'll second.
Second by Julie. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Nick Recupero,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes. Motion carries for deferral, 4-0. Public comment, do we have any public comment for agenda items, ladies and gentlemen? Any public item for agenda items?
I have a question. I don't know if it's a public comment or not, but who are you, sir?
I can answer that. Oh, yeah. So I'd be happy to answer that. He's one of our financial consultants with Cronin Associates out of the Indianapolis area.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're absolutely welcome, ma'am.
I just want to be on the same page there.
Yeah, for sure. So, with that being said, public comment for agenda items is now closed.
Anything else?
No one online, right? Consent agenda of minutes, October 3rd and October 17th, 2023. Item 2, claims, all town funds, $1,626,701.41. Wastewater operating, $206,279.53. Water utility, $183,570.37. Stormwater, $30,653.63. Payroll for 10/26, 11/1, and 11/9, $659,104.50. And October remittances of $190,640.97. Item 3, manual journal entries, October 1, 2023 through October 31, 2023. As well, do we have a motion to accept and waive the reading of the minutes and accept the consent agenda as listed?
So moved.
I'll second. We have a motion to accept consent agenda by Julie and a second by Ralph. Thank you. Roll call?
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Nick Recupero,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes. Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to the next item, ordinances and resolution. Ordinance 1474, Lakeside South rezone from R1 and Ag to Plan Unit Development. I believe this item, also, Chris or Mr. Ashton, did you have any comments on this?
The deferral's in order for this. There are still some items being addressed in the PUD agreement.
I see. So we have a advisement by legal for a deferral based on the PUD.
When would you like that deferred till, Mr. Austin?
First,
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Nick is asking, when would you like it deferred to? Would it next month or the first of the year?
Either one. I'm not certain we'll get it done before year end, but we might. It could be next year if you want. That's up to you all.
Okay. How about we keep that open for town manager to,
Do you want to set it for the 19th? We can always defer it at that meeting.
you good with that, with your motion?
Yes, sir, I'll make a motion to defer ordinance number 1474 to the December 19th town council meeting.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Nick, second by Julie for deferral. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Nick Recupero,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes. Motion carries 4-0. Ordinance 1480, 2023 salary ordinance amendment. If I could get a brief explanation, and then I'm gonna ask Julie to read it.
Okay, so this came from the park board. This is to add, on-call duty pay for their scheduled full-time and part-time employees. It would be the same like we currently do with Public Works. It would be $50 is the on-call pay,
Okay.
because currently it's not there in the salary ordinance, but not knowing what's going to happen the remainder of the year, you know, should they need to call out their team for snow plowing.
Or what have you.
Yep.
Okay.
So how does that, in the public works, and if we approve this, how does that $50 get divvied out? Is that $50 per day, or $50 per?
It's per week.
Per week?
And so the superintendent of the department has a schedule of her personnel. And so, when I spoke with her, I believe it's two, one full-time and one part-time will be on this on-call schedule each week. So essentially $100 a week
Okay,
is what will be coming out of their budget.
okay. And we're already doing that with Public Works, and it's
Yep,
been operating?
it's already, it's in everything for Public Works, so this is just to make parks similar.
Okay.
Julie, could you please, Ralph, you don't have any other questions?
I don't have.
Okay, could you please read ordinance 1480, please?
Ordinance number 1480, an ordinance amending town salary ordinance number 1436, establishing jobs and salaries to be paid certain offices, positions, and jobs within the town of Cedar Lake for the calendar year 2023, and repealing all ordinances or parts thereof in conflict therewith.
Okay, we have, heard the reading. Do we have motion to accept or deny?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
We have a motion by Ralph,
I'll second.
second by Julie. Any questions? If not, roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Nick Recupero,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes, motion carries 4-0.
Do you want to act on this tonight?
What's that?
Do you want to act on this tonight?
So,
We could possibly,
do a motion.
make a motion to suspend the rules if somebody would like to, so we can
I'll
act
make a
on this
motion
to help them out for the year.
I'll make the motion to suspend the rules.
Okay, we have a motion by Ralph,
I'll second.
and a second by Julie again. Okay, roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Nick Recupero,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes. Motion carries 4-0. Julie, would you please read the ordinance 1480 again?
Sure. Ordinance number 1480, an ordinance amending town salary ordinance number 1436, establishing jobs and salaries to be paid certain offices, positions, and jobs within the town of Cedar Lake for the calendar year 2023, and repealing all ordinances or parts thereof in conflict therewith.
Thank you. We've heard the second reading. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion again to accept it.
Okay, motion to accept by Ralph,
I'll second.
and second by Julie. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Nick Recupero,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Ordinance 1480 is adopted. BZA Plan Commission ratify acceptance of maintenance letter of credit for Beacon Point East, Unit 3, in the amount of $42,226.69. It was approved at the Plan Commission on 11/1. It's pretty self-explanatory, but if anybody up here would like an explanation, we can have Chris or Jen.
I watched the meeting, John, so I think I'm good.
Yeah, and it's in our packet. Okay, very good. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to, accept this maintenance letter of credit, Beacon Point East, Unit 3.
Okay, motion by Nick,
I'll second it.
second by Ralph. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Nick Recupero,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Item number 2, acceptance of performance letter of credit for Lakeside Unit 2, Block 1, in the amount of $1,335,094.04. Again, pretty straightforward, again, in our packet, and if you have any questions, though, speak out now. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion to approve by Julie.
I'll second it.
We have a second by Ralph Miller. Any other questions? If not, roll call.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Nick Recupero,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes, 4-0, accepted. Item 3, acceptance of maintenance letter of credit for Centennial Villas in the amount of $93,460.79. Again, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Okay. Motion by Julie,
I'll second it.
second by Ralph. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Nick Recupero,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes. Motion passes 4-0. Acceptance of revised private, moving on to item 4, acceptance of a revised private performance letter of credit for Cedar Lake Storage to increase the surety by $20,000 for a new total in the amount of $133,181.48. Chris, you want to just give us a synopsis of that scenario? I sort of know it too, but I'll let you do it.
This was an issue that came through the Plan Commission. The property owners were using a portion of the property that was not asphalted, and it was requested by the Plan Commission that a larger surety be granted in the case that the town needs to come in and asphalt that property. So the additional $20,000 is an approximate cost of what it would take for us to remove the RVs, campers, et cetera, that is parked on the gravel property. So that way we can have a contractor come in and then asphalt after the fact.
Thank you.
So you guys, there's a letter in here from Ashley stating that there was not an engineering review letter like these other ones have, but this was obviously vetted through Don at that meeting too, right?
That's correct.
Don Olcott?
Okay.
And this letter of credit is with People's Bank.
Okay. I'll make a motion to accept this letter of credit for Cedar Lake Storage, the
Okay.
increase.
We have a motion by Nick,
I'll second it.
second by Ralph. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Nick Recupero,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes, that passes 4-0. Under new business, we have a bid award for Lynn's Way Sidewalk Project. Nick? I'm sorry, Chris?
This is our CBDG project, Community Block Development Grant. We get the monies from the county. It's used for a variety of different reasons. What the town has historically used it for is transitioning sidewalk ramps at intersections to be ADA handicap compliant. We have been doing the handicap ramps in the Lynn's Way subdivision. This is continuing those improvements in that subdivision. We had 3 bids. The lowest bid is coming from H3 Concrete in the amount of $78,345.
Okay.
And that is, according to Christopher Burke's letter, that is the recommendation to award.
Okay.
These bid numbers are, some of them are ridiculous.
Yeah, but look at the name of the companies, right? Milestone and Garrett, these are little baby projects for them. Their sweet spot's probably $500,000 or more.
These are substantially smaller projects, so yes, the bigger...
$4 million or more for those big guys.
So H3, I think they've done work in town before,
I
right?
believe they did the last round of, handicap ramps in that area.
Everything's good with them? That's quality work? Okay, cool.
Okay. Do we have a motion for selecting H3 Concrete in the amount of $78,345?
I'll make a motion to award this bid to H3 Concrete for the Lindsway Sidewalk project.
Okay, we have a motion by Nick
I'll second.
and a second by Julie. Roll call, please.
That was Nick and Julie, correct?
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Nick Recupido,
Yes?
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes, that motion too carries 4-0. Item number 2, new business, ratification of funding sources for the 2023-1 CCMG Shade Subdivision Improvement Project. Crossroad Community.
Yeah, so this, very similar to the last, Jen's last explanation for the Moore Street water main. This is going through and ratifying, showing you the breakdown of the cost of the project and the associated funds that will be paid for that project. It's currently underway, and actually, about just done for the season for the first phase of the Shades subdivision paving project, which is a little difficult, because we've broken the entire subdivision over there into 2 phases, and we broke the first phase up into 2 phases, so we're done with the first phase for this season. And this would be a ratification based off of the State Board of Accounts auditors, what they would like to see.
So this is, again, just to have better documentation, and also, as we move forward with these larger projects, Sue and I will be keeping tracking of each one of these to make sure we're in line with what we said and everything continues to match up in regards to these projects. This one's slightly different since it is a CCMG project, because those CCMG monies you can only use on roadways, so we have to make sure that we allocate those CCMG monies to the specific roadway costs, and then our other remaining costs or anticipated costs, we make sure to split up among the other funds that are available to us. So we're looking, we want to use the last of the Rose Garden Infrastructure Fund monies, that way we can close out that fund. Casino monies, a little bit of CDIT, our motor vehicle highway restricted monies, because the restricted monies, again, you can only use that for the construction, reconstruction, and I forget what the third word they use in the legislature is, but we have to make sure we use those monies specifically for those roadway improvements. There is a small portion that is sewer related, and there's quite a bit of stormwater, but we only have so much stormwater capacity to put at it, since we have other stormwater capital projects that need to occur over the next year.
Super, thank you. Okay, we've heard 2 brief synopsis of that subject. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the ratification of funding sources for the Shade Subdivision Improvements Project.
And we have a motion by Nick on the floor.
I'll second it.
And a second by Ralph. Thank you, Ralph. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Nick Recupido,
Yes?
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes, as well. Motion passes 4-0. Item number 3, ratification of funding sources for Morris Street Water Main Project.
Okay, so I know it seems odd since we just did this at the utility board meeting,
Okay.
but I'm doing this to make sure all my bases are covered, moving forward. That way, when we are audited, I can say, nope, the appropriate board did what I needed them to do. So I have this one before you again because TIP monies, and in my mind, and I explained it to the State Board of Accounts, even though we have the various boards, utility board, redevelopment commission, park board, what have you, in my mind, town council is still overarching over all of the financials of the town. So I want to make sure that it always comes back and council always knows what's going on. So you see the Moore Street Water Main extension here again, since TIP is involved, and most likely it'll be on the next RDC agenda as well,
Okay.
just to cover my bases.
Well, it's easy, you can just copy and paste it. No time. So, thank you for that. Again, that total funding was $962,747.75 for the public's info.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
it's a well-established law that all capital financing starts and ends with the town council,
Understood.
legislative body.
Understood. Thank you. Okay, I would entertain a motion on item number 3.
I'll make a motion to approve this ratification of funding sources for the Morse Street Water Main Project.
We have a motion by Nick. I'll second it. Second by Ralph. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Nick Recupero,
Yes?
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Next item is to authorize our town manager, Chris Salatas, to sign the agreement for this 2023-2 CCMG grant. Do we have any questions, and if so, which grant is that for?
So this is the second round of CCMG 2023-2. So we applied for CCMG in the first round of funding, which is how the Shades project is funded. This is the second round that was opened up this year. This is for crack sealing. They've awarded us $87,200 to do approximately 7.74 miles of roadway throughout the town. There's multiple various streets kind of selected between our engineer, Tim, and a few others, just the bad roads that need crack sealing to help extend their life out. Kind of what the CCMG program is meant for, to continue to extend those road life out after they've been repaved, so that way we don't have to just repave, leave, and then come back in 10 years and do a full reconstruct again.
Hey, Chris, why is it that we only got 87? Did we have other shovel-ready projects that didn't get approved, or they picked other communities, or?
We've come close to maxing out, and this is what
okay.
we had to match for our 50/50, so we didn't want to go above what we could commit to our portion of funding.
10-4, thank you.
So these projects have already been approved in some fashion by us?
By either the board or by NDOT, so you could decide now to not move forward, and we can just tell NDOT that we do not wish to pursue or continue on with this grant.
So every year, I'll just give you a brief synopsis. So every year, we try to have various shovel-ready projects done, and we have Burke Engineering submit them to be possible candidates to get these funds.
Okay.
And as he mentioned, we have to have backup funds because it's an 80-20. So by, or 50-50. So by doing so, we, like a couple of years ago, we had 80,000. But just a few weeks ago, they did publish this, the state did, and some communities around here got $1 million. So when I saw we only had 88,000, I was like, what the heck, you know?
Yeah, so if you add the 87,200 to the 831,600 that we received for the first round, that gets us close to $1 million.
Okay.
Of what
Correct.
the state will grant us in one given year.
Okay. So this is just for the second round, you said, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we came close to maxing out what we can get from the state.
So in the spring of the year, the new council will say, okay, what do we want to focus on? What do we want to get shovel-ready? Because if you don't have the project ready to go from an engineered standpoint, you're not even in the game.
Okay, so we've already determined these were projects we wanted to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Christopher Burke, unrelated to this item, has prepared the pavement asset management plan, which we have to do every year, submit it to the state to make sure we're capable of receiving funding. It goes through and rates all the roads on an engineering standpoint on a scale of 1 through 10, depending on how bad they are. And that is available, I believe we publish it on our website, and I also have multiple maps, and I believe multiple departments also has available maps. It's color-coded to show what roads are good or bad, just based on their color and the rating.
We just use that as a guide wherever we want to do resurfacing or reconstruction?
Correct.
Okay.
And NDOT themselves also have a, based on the Pacer rating that the road is given, what is their prescribed fix for that road. So it's like a road that's a 1, which would be the worst, would need a full reconstruct, compared to a road that's a 7, which would maybe just need crack sealing.
Okay.
And we've had lots of ones, so.
Yeah.
We have,
Slowly but surely, we're getting some of these subdivisions properly fixed.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, Ralph, Julie? Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to authorize Chris to sign for this agreement.
Okay, motion by Julie. I'll second it. And we have a second by Ralph. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Nick Recupero,
Yes?
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Item 5, consider donating 2 decommissioned City Police Department vehicles to Hammer Central High School Shop Class. Great idea. 2011 Charger, and an old 117 Oldsmobile, I guess, 117?
No, just old 170.
Oh, I got you, that's your cop car number.
I don't.
I was gonna say, why do we have an Oldsmobile? They've been out of business for 20 years, chief.
She didn't have to put that in.
Okay, 20, and then also 2009 Dodge
It was our
Charger.
description, so we knew which
Okay.
car it was in the past, so.
Okay, you just wanna let the officers know that you're junking their old rides?
Not even unit numbers,
Okay.
these are old pool cars.
Okay, so.
So the gist of it is, council, is, I had a conversation with our SRO that's in the high school. He had a conversation with Chad Naylor, who is the automotive instructor for Hanover Central. He said that they're struggling to perform these classes with them because they don't have vehicles to work on. They're constantly trying to. And he asked if we had any decommissioned squad cars that are no longer on our books. And we just so happen to have 2 of them that are sitting at the town garage, ready to go basically to the dump. These vehicles don't run, they have motor issues or massive problems, or they're extremely old. So I went over and talked to him. He sent me a letter. He said, "I hope this finds you well. As the automotive teacher at Hanover Central High School, I'm writing to request your support in our mission to provide valuable hands-on learning experience for our students. We are seeking vehicle donations to enhance our automotive education program, and we believe the town of Cedar Lake Police can play a crucial role in helping us achieve those goals. At Hanover Central, we're dedicated to preparing our students for successful futures, and automotive program is an essential part of that mission. Our program's success largely depends on the availability of variety of vehicles that our students can work on." So what they're requesting is, and it goes on, but they're requesting 2 of our decommissioned police vehicles that are currently sitting at the town garage. The only reason that they were there was they were there to help with parts if there was an issue with an old squad car that we needed parts for, which we have utilized in the past. And they just have been sitting there. So they're not insured, the town, they don't run. One of them.
I like it, I think it's a great
Yeah,
idea.
So what I'm asking is that, but the town still owns these vehicles, what I'm asking is the town council to approve to donate these 2 vehicles to the Hanover Central Automotive Shop. I will have them towed to the facility so that they can work on them, and he's going to keep them for years. He's gonna take them apart, put them back together with each class coming on.
They're gonna get a lot of brake jobs for never going down the road. I like it.
They're never gonna leave the shop, so they're gonna be tore apart.
It's the only way to learn. Hands
Tore
on.
apart, go back together, so.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion if anybody would like.
President,
Yes, sir.
if you're gonna make a consideration of this, please make a finding that the 2 vehicles in question are no longer needed or able to be used.
As previously stated, they're decommissioned and not even on the insurance for the town anymore.
They need to make a public meeting record.
Okay. Whoever would like to make a motion in favor or against, if you make it in favor, please do add the comments that Mr. Austin just said.
Okay, I'll make a motion to donate these 2 decommissioned Cedar Lake Police Department vehicles, a Hanover Central High School shop class, a 2011 Dodge Charger, as well as a 2009 Dodge Charger, with the findings that both of these vehicles are no longer needed or able to be used.
Okay, we have that motion made by Nick. Any seconds?
I'll second it.
We have a second by Ralph. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupido?
Yes?
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes?
Thank you very much. I think they will enjoy this immensely, and it will help them out. We did have conversation about some of the equipment that's in there. Not that it even works anymore, but they're gonna remove it and give it back to us so that we can properly destruct it.
Well, I got a quick story. In the 80s, we had auto shop, metal shop, wood shop, printing, all kinds of industrial arts. A lot of people got those classes out of high school, went on to tech schools, and got good careers. Then our beautiful government decided that they don't need wood shop, metal shop, auto shop anymore. We lost about a generation. And that's when the exodus to China for making molds started to happen, and that's when the exodus to Mexico started to happen. We lost really good manufacturing jobs throughout the whole Midwest. I lived it. I went to these little communities. I saw a direct correlation to families breaking up and people losing their jobs and drugs and alcohol abuse. It was brutal. And I watched it happen. You know, had I been a lot smarter of a guy and been a PhD major or something, I could have studied it and wrote a thesis on it. But I lived it, I watched it, and it was a shameful thing. So in the last 10 years, we've started STEM, and now some auto shops and metal shop and wood shop and welding coming back to America. We're about 700,000 welders short. And working with your hands is a great thing, so that's my 2 cents on that. Good luck to Chad.
You gonna donate some of your motorcycles?
Yeah, there you go. Okay, moving on, and that's, my wife would be happy. Item 6, consider disposal of decommissioned Robin's Nest generator through Gov Deals. Same thing, Chris?
Kick that one over to Tim, too.
Okay.
We have recently updated the generator at Robin's Nest to the exterior of the building, and this one is just, we're gonna put it on the Gov Deals. We're in the middle of trying to come up with some kind of value for it, but it was mounted inside the building. It has no cabinet. It's a small KVW generator, and it's really, we have no other uses for it other than, you know, so we're gonna try to get a few bucks for it and get rid of it, so.
Sounds good. I'd entertain a motion on item 6.
Please also include the same thing as David mentioned in the last one.
Okay.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve the disposal of the decommissioned Robin's Nest generator through Gov Deals. The findings that this piece of equipment is no longer needed and are able to be used.
Okay, motion by Nick.
I'll second.
Second by Ralph. Roll call, please.
Julia Vera?
Yes.
Nick Cupido?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Item number 7, approve posting of notice to accept applications for 2024 Board and Commission appointments. That's pretty self-explanatory. Every time this year, we go through a process of this, and then we ask for people that want to be on next year's boards and commissions to fill out applications, et cetera, whether it be Police Commission, Plan Commission, BZA. So any of you folks in the audience that are interested, be on the lookout.
So
Be on the lookout for a form to be on this a commission, like Board of Zoning and Appeals or Planning Commission, so on and so forth.
I understand.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I sometimes talk fast.
That's okay. I'm just trying to clarify.
If approved as is in your packet, the deadline to apply would be December 21st.
Okay, December 21st deadline. Any motions?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion by Ralph
I'll second.
and a second by Julie. Roll call, please.
Julia Vera?
Yes.
Nick Cupido?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. C-Bell pay request number 6, payable to Dredge America in the amount of $492,972.97 for the Lake Eco Restoration Dredge Project Stage 2.
This is for dredging up until October 31st. They have the dredge quantities that have been removed to that point, but they have since ceased dredging, and they have dredged approximately 270,000 cubic yards of material out of the lake this dredge season.
Very good. And I would just like to add that the pipe is going to be sunk to the bottom of the ground. It's still out in Area 12, which is the north center or northwest part of Cedar Lake, and they will be removing the barge soon, and it was determined by, I think, the state, and for safety purposes, to fill it, sink it, and then the barge that will stay out there will be marked with flags and markers in case people are riding snowmobiles or what have you, so I'll just add that to it as well. Nothing to do with the approval.
Is there gonna be, is there something to do with, some kind of markers along the line too, where it's?
We're, only the 2 spots where we've got boat, or the 3 spots where we have boat crossings, we're gonna continue to keep markers there.
Okay.
But the rest of the pipe, Nick, is gonna be taken down below 4 or 5 feet or something like that.
The entirety of it will be sunk to the bottom of the lake,
Yep.
so that there will be no chance of anybody hitting it.
Okay.
They will keep the round buoys attached to the pipeline, but given that it'll be sunk, you won't be able to see them.
But if you sink a snowmobile and you go down, you'll hit
I
it.
guess it's very possible you could still hit it if you're trying hard enough.
If you're not going fast enough to clear the water. Okay. Any motion?
I'll make a motion to pay the bill.
Okay. We have a motion by Ralph to approve payment of the CPAL pay request number 6.
I'll second.
And we have a second by Julie. Roll call.
Julia Vera?
Yes.
Nick Cupido?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes, motion does carry 4-0. Consider C-Bell Professional Services proposal for 133rd Avenue reconstruction project. Chris, please.
So we have received an NERC grant that we applied for to raise the road of 133rd Avenue that's roughly between Lubbock Lake and Robin's Nest, in that area where it dips in the swampy area. The water overtops, the roadway, we were successful in our, forget what grant classification it was exactly, but they funded the construction of that project for 2025, for that road to be, for the culverts to be replaced to box culverts, and that road to be raised approximately 2 feet, which would stop any overtopping. This proposal from Christopher Burke is to do the environmental documents that are required per any NERC project, as they are federally funded, and do the design work for the road raising. In here is also an option included in the cost of $131,650 to do design work for a water line, as we do not have a water line that goes through that area. It would be advantageous at this time to include that work into this proposal, given that we can then make the connection from Robin's Nest to approximately Faith Church to create a loop in that area of the eastern Robin's Nest water system to help water flow more efficiently. This proposal will be paid out of CEDAT funds, and the project itself will be an 80-20 project when it's in construction, and the water line will have to be bid out separately from the construction project, as that is not included with the grant.
Okay. So I have a question. By raising the road 2 feet, will we also include the boardwalk while we're at it?
That is not a part of this project.
How about in the 2028 waterway path? Will that be including a boardwalk?
We did not get that segment of that sidewalk project / boardwalk funded, but this would have to occur first in order for us to be able to continue to pursue that project. So the anticipation is, if the council in the future sees that as a priority, we will keep applying for NERC grants to get that section of boardwalk funded. We have been pursuing the easements in that area and have been acquiring them. I believe we've acquired everything on 133rd Avenue that we would need if and when that project is funded.
Okay. And for the folks in the audience, what I'm talking about with the boardwalk is the fact that from Faith Church to Robin's Nest, there's no connection by people, to walk on a sidewalk. It's a swamp, so you can't really put a sidewalk. So we thought it'd be cool to do a boardwalk and get people connected, and it kind of fits the theme of the town, so on and so forth. So one of these days, we'll find some money by future council, so thank you. All right, so next, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Okay. Per Chris's comments?
Yes.
In that dollar amount of $131,650. Thank you.
Do we have to include in the motion, the water line, or it's in the total?
Yeah, we should add in there, adding the water, since it's a NERC project, that CEDAT money should cover that. Ralph, would you?
Yeah, I will agree with that.
Okay. So adding the water main design as well?
Correct, and that would bring the total cost to the $131,650.
Okay. I think it's a smart financial move, and I will second that amended motion.
Okay, very good. And CEDAT is County Economic Development Income Tax, in case anybody wants to know or cares. Okay, very good. We have a motion and a second. Next. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupero?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes, motion again carries 4-0. Item 10, Fire Department reimbursement agreement with Zachary Bailey. Chief, you handling that? Chris?
It's just the standard reimbursement for training and equipment.
David?
Yeah, he did sign it tonight, so.
Condition of employment by Mr.
Okay.
Bailey with our fire department.
Very good. Anyone else have any questions? If not, roll call again, motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
A motion is made by Julie Rivera,
I'll second it.
second by Ralph Miller. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupero?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes. Motion carries 4-0. Turning the page, item number 11, disbursement request number 7 from the 2022A Construction Fund, AKA the Police Department, built up on the hill, in the amount of $329,930.66. I think it's fairly explainable, but if anyone has any questions, you can ask Chris.
And we got Sue here for the first
Or
time.
Sue, I'm sorry. Sorry, Sue, I forgot to look over there, and I could have been calling on you all night.
This is the GM development, request for, payment that, for their progress to date. And I have gone through it. We have, by the way, in past, we have always been subtracting off an amount for the Veritas invoice. We have that matter taken care of now, because if they are tracking it in their costs, then we felt that we shouldn't be processing it individually by ourselves. And I did a reconciliation so that they would get the correct number of payments that have been made in them. So this is both, we will not see anything from Veritas for the owner's representation now.
Okay.
It's all inclusive.
Very fine.
I have a question for Sue. Sue, and both of these, A and B, and the, I guess I'll call it the ledger, they have a line item called overhead and profit. What is overhead and profit line item?
That would be your, just like when we do a costing for, for a taxi. We are allowed to include an overhead, but not profit in our, situation. But this is part of what is allowed through our BOT agreement and our maximum guaranteed price.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do we have a motion for the disbursement request number 7?
I'll make a motion that we pay the bill.
We have a motion by Ralph,
I'll second.
and we have a second by Julie. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, roll call.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Nick Ricciuto,
Yes?
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Moving along to the next item, essentially the same thing, but this is for the building farther east, which is the fire department, and the amount of $570,884.51. Sue, would you like to, is it
It's,
a ditto?
Yeah, and the reason they carry different, hang on a minute, let me look at my numbers here. The reason they carry different request numbers is because we started drawing from the trustee fees for the police station prior to the month before drawing on the fire department, because
Got it.
that's just the way it worked out. So
Okay.
that's, just so that you guys know what's the difference in the numbers. It's because this is the disbursement number for the trustee only.
Understood. Thank you for that explanation.
Mhm.
If no one has any other questions, I would entertain a motion again.
I'll make a motion to approve this disbursement request.
Motion made by Nick
I'll second
Thibodeau,
it.
second by Ralph Miller. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Nick Ricciuto.
Yes?
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes. Motion passes 4-0. Moving along, moving into reports, does anyone up here on the town council have anything they would like to bring up?
No, sir.
Okay,
Just want to mention the Taylor Ice Fest, if everyone hasn't already seen all the advertisements for it, December 1st and 2nd at the town grounds. It's a lot like the farmer's market, and it's from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and I believe there's a tree lighting ceremony at 5 p.m. on the 1st, sponsored by Leo's. So, hope to see everybody there.
I heard you're gonna do ice carving, is that a true statement?
Yes, they can carve SpongeBob, that's
Oh, okay, I like it. Okay, excellent. Moving along, Mr. Austin, no report? Clerk treasurer, Jen, anything?
Nothing further this evening.
Okay. Town manager, Mr. Chris.
And I'll do the building department, because we already touched on everything for Christopher Burke, and Veritas has no report.
Okay.
We had 41 new building permits for the month of October, which brings our total to 134, which I believe we touched on in the utility budget. This is the highest October on record according to our building department, so,
Incredible.
Tim did good.
Crazy.
Yeah.
A little way the highest.
So you're still trying to play catch-up with inspections, I would imagine, in light of
Yeah, 41
tragedy.
new houses for October, that's crazy.
Huh. Yeah, that is
There's
interesting.
another stack of probably 20 in the office right now.
Well, moving along, do you have anything else you want to bring up? Director of Operations?
I do not think.
Okay. Mr. Police Chief, Bill
In your packet, you received our monthly report. As you can see, we're averaging about 40 calls per day. We had a total calls for service this year are right around 11,996. We had 471 total traffic stops for the month of October. We had 74 state tickets, 73 town ordinance tickets for 147 citations. We had 453 written state warnings and 30 ordinance warnings written for 491 warnings by the officers. We had 11 total arrests, 13 criminal charges, for a total of 273 arrests and 428 charges for the year. On the K-9 report, you can see we had 13 call-outs for the month of October. For the code enforcement officer, 73 citations were issued for the month of October for a total of 506 for the year, and 30 warnings, ordinance warnings for a total of 503 for the year.
Very good. Thank you. Chief Whitney, anything on your?
Yeah, I had a couple things to report. We'll probably set a record this year for calls total, right around 2,000, which EMS would probably be about 75 to 25%. We did meet, Dave and I met with, Met with Trustee Toth this morning to discuss the contract for the township, and we're getting some things ironed out. We had a good meeting, so we'll be putting something together for the meeting in December, hopefully for approval.
Okay.
And the ladder truck has been gone for a month, and it got a complete engine restore, rebuilt out of frame, so we should be getting it back pretty soon.
Very good. Written communication, Jen, do you have anything else? Or anybody? Okay, I think there's a little redundancy, building department report, you've already kind of touched on that, you said.
Yep, we got both. We got all three.
As well as Veritas and Burke Engineering. At this time, I'd be happy to entertain public comment by anybody that would like to come up. State your name and address, please. Come on up, ma'am.
I really want to stand up, my back hurts like crazy.
Okay, but you still have to state your name for the record
Okay,
and address.
for real?
I'm sorry, that's our policy.
Okay, I'll play the rules. I play the rules good.
Okay.
Okay, my name is Gail, G-A-L-E, La Tulip, L-A.
Gail Lotulip, thank you.
Got it.
Hi, Gail.
La Lipna, Lila, L-A, La Tulip.
Yep, oh, Lotulip, yes, ma'am.
Okay, the only question I really wanted to ask today was, where I live right...
You didn't tell us your address, so I don't know where you live.
Okay, I'm sorry, okay, so I gotta get there?
No.
Okay, great.
I'll repeat it so the people, so it's on record.
13152 Schubert Street.
13152 Schubert.
Yeah,
Thank you.
got it, okay, I can spell it really easy.
Perfect.
Okay.
Is it a road issue that you're asking?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I'm sorry, I'm just tired and hungry, I wanna go home, I wanna get my 2 cents worth in, I wanna go home.
You betcha.
Okay. And I was-
Take your time.
I'm not a speed talker like you are.
That's okay. Take your time.
First of all, this guy is great. He is fantastic as the chief of police, okay? I knew him, and he was just a little shit. And I'm sorry, I didn't say that.
Right, you did.
He's really, really good, okay? The other thing I want to ask.
Sure.
I live on Schubert Street. Now, the Eagles is here, and the American Legion is down here,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got Lake Shore Drive.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 2 questions, sir. One, I understand that the trash people have to pick up the trash. I get that, okay? And I understand when there's an emergency, the heavy vehicles have to go through. I get that too. But what I don't understand, and what is a problem for me, because I have a long driveway, and because I had so many broken bones in my body, is why do they have the I want to say it without laughing.
Why do they have the?
Why do the people that deliver the beer, from one tavern to the others, why do they have to go past my road and stop and break down the road? Because then when the snow comes, I can't get out, and I have breathing issues, and then I gotta shovel my butt out, and I don't have much left in me to shovel out.
So you would prefer that they use
could they use Lakeshore Drive since it's, I mean, isn't it common sense that?
I would be happy to, relay to both, folks that run both those organizations on your behalf,
Thank you.
that we would kindly ask the beer truck drivers and/or other truck drivers to not use Schubert. I think that would go a long way. I think that,
I mean,
people are nice, so they would probably
I think they save the
adhere.
town a lot of money because they're always having to fix that road, and if it's common sense.
That's a good suggestion.
The Lakeshore Drive is a much more solid road. The people who deliver the liquor, I don't care about that, but just back your big,
Okay.
I want to say big ass truck. Back your truck up and go down Lakeshore Drive instead of going down my road, and everybody on Schubert Street and Dodge Street, wherever they turn, is all affected by that.
Okay.
And then it just makes more work and more money out of people's pockets to fix that road. That's one thing I'd like to say.
Okay, perfect.
May I say another thing now?
Sure, but you already said Chief's a nice guy, you've known him since a little kid, so now this is your third item, but it's all good.
I can leave.
No, I'm teasing.
No.
Please, what's the third thing? I will pass those messages on to both
You will.
the Legion and to the Eagles.
Oh, God. Please, don't tell them who said anything.
I will not.
I don't
I will
want
not.
to get kicked out of me again.
I will not.
This is on,
What?
this is on YouTube.
I don't care.
Okay.
That's okay, well,
Ask me.
the truck drivers of these vehicles, I'm sure they're nice, I'm sure they're nice guys, I don't know, but
Yeah, I don't know them, and I don't bother them, I don't bother nobody, I'm my P's and Q's.
you bet,
It's just a road issue, and it just is more on the taxpayer.
for sure.
It makes common sense.
I like it.
Okay, the other thing is, now, everybody, I lost my train of thought, because I'm tired and I'm hungry. When the trash people pick up stuff, I noticed down by Huntley, and that nice neighborhood, which I think the town has done a really good job cleaning up Meyer Manor and getting out the roughnecks, just the people that, cause a lot of problems. Because I had a son who hung out down there, and I'm always down there saying, get your rear end home, and anyway, why can't the trash people or whoever cleans up, because I like to take my dog for a walk, and since I don't have sidewalks, and walking is good for arthritis and keeping yourself physically fit, why can't people come by and pick up all the broken glass after they dump the dumpsters? I mean, I'm 63 and I can bend my ass over and pick it up. Why can't somebody come along and sweep that stuff up?
Well, we, to answer your question shortly, is our vacuum truck is slated to be replaced because it hasn't been working. So perhaps that would be, or street sweeper, I'm sorry, not vacuum truck, street sweeper. We're working on it. So we've been without one for a short time now, and it's not good because
There's a lot of little kids that play down there, and, a lot of little kids run down to the lake, and they're getting their feet cut, and you can hear them screaming and crying.
in a few years, we're gonna have a sidewalk along that whole path, but for right now, we're gonna go from the roundabout to the town grounds,
In
so.
a few years, I hope I'm out of here,
There you go.
because I think that this town's expanding way too much.
Okay.
And I'm wondering, when are you gonna stop building subdivisions? Because on that note, I'm gonna say, nighty-night, y'all.
Thank you very much, Gail.
Thank you.
Anybody else, public comment?
Mary Jones Dixon, 8711 West Hartford, second place. For the salary ordinance amendment, is the money in the budget to cover those extra additional fees for the on-call?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Good evening. Terry Broders, 14513 Morse. I just had a quick question on number 3 of new business. That was a ratification of the Moore Street Water Main Project. There was a amount mentioned tonight, John, and I may misquote you here, and I apologize if I do. I thought you said $936,000 on that?
962,747.
962,747. Now, I was in the room here when that original contract was I believe was awarded at $912,000 and some change, and that's a pretty substantial change. I don't remember being in a meeting and hearing any discussion of why that had changed.
Well, I do know $28,968.75 had already been paid from a different fund, which was water development.
Hold on, we're talking about the water main project that was
Construction
approved.
observation was included in that amount, which was outside of the Moore Street project itself. So there were two different contracts that are considered in that ratification.
I see.
So the first contract approved was for $912,000, that's for the work to do the water main.
Yeah, I can just read it. Project cost, Gatlin Plumbing and Heating, includes construction contingency, Terry, was $900,000. Appraisals, easements, engineering, $28,968. Construction observation costs, $33,779. Thus, the total cost, Terry, was $962,747.75. So maybe if we deduct that $33,779, that might be that number.
And so, but my question is, John, when it was first approved, it was approved at $912. Then none of them other funds were mentioned in the first approval. Now I understand all these other funds, but you understand my
For sure, we can look into it and see.
I can clarify that, I didn't vote for it, I voted against it because of the issues going on in Utopia, but the board approved the contract with Gatlin at $900,000.
$912,000, I thought, somewhere in there.
Okay, yeah, that was just that single motion that was made and eventually passed just for Gatlin.
Okay, so this is a combination of a few other contracts.
Yeah.
I got it, thank you for your
Engineering and
clarification.
Totally, no problem.
Thank you, Terry.
Anyone else? Okay, going once on public comment? Going twice? Public comment is closed, and I will adjourn the meeting at 9:05. Thank you all for coming. The next meeting is